It's official. The 23-headed Jack in the Box just grew another head. And boy, is it empty.
There's plenty of money in this world. There's plenty of money in this country. It's just in the wrong hands.
A Quinnipiac poll that showed 76% of New York voters, 73% of New York Democrats say you shouldn't run.
The poll that actually matters is the election. So New Yorkers have twice said that they want me to lead them. I call him Con Don. Every New Yorker knows he's a con artist. We know his tricks. We know his playbook. I know how to take him on. I've been watching him for decades.
Oh, jeez. One of the most inept mayors in human history has decided to take his incompetence national, vowing to steal your money and spread it around. But I guess if everyone in your city hates you, running for president is better than getting run out of town. No one likes this guy. Here's some proof.
Worst mayor ever! Worst mayor ever! Liar! Liar! You can't run the city! You can't run the country! You can't run the city! You can't run the country!
Police, business owners, taxis, and Uber drivers, they all hate him. He's more despised than Wiener. In fact, he's Wiener without the Wiener jokes. In other words, he's nothing. Homelessness is at a record high. 133,000 folks spent at least one night in a shelter, a 61% jump from 2002. But Bill can't see that. The climate warrior keeps his tinted windows rolled up as he motorcades to that gym in Brooklyn every day. Meanwhile, where does a chunk of your paycheck go? To his wife, who spent hundreds of millions on a program for the mentally ill with no visible results except that there's more mentally ill. Was that the point? He's power at its worst, coercion mixed with cronyism, and constantly bailed out by the adults he scoffs, meaning the police, who continue to make this city safer so Bill can ruin other things. He benefits from them, but also the past. Giuliani and Bloomberg helped rebuild a city that's now strong enough to endure this lumbering lurch. Really, he's gambling with someone else's chips. And he got reelected. Why? No one voted. When one party runs the joint, why bother? But America is different. The moment they get their taste of de Blasio, it will be a nationwide hurl. Prepare to duck. All right, Dagan, I gotta go. Why is he doing this? Do you have a theory? Because this is nuts. Even his own party. Oh, wait, let me just show this poll. Even his own party can't stand him. Do you have that poll that shows that, would you like to see Bill de Blasio run for president in 2020? 76%. No. Now, the Democrats, I think it's about 74%. Why?
Never underestimate the arrogance and self-delusion of a politician. Why is he running? Because in New York City, he is reviled. He is booed. If you ask anybody, they will give you, what do you think of Mayor de Blasio? They give you this look.
Yeah.
Like they just walk by a dumpster behind a seafood restaurant. What he needs to go out into the South and the Midwest and try and feed his ego. Again, what was Jeb Bush's line? Please clap. That's what he's going to do. He needs to feed it somehow because he's not getting it here.
Dana, this is the cover of the Post, and usually the Post will rip you, but they can't even rip de Blasio because they can't take it seriously. They're like, absolutely, they're like, you can't, what can you say, Dana?
One of my favorite things about moving to New York has been the New York Post covers every day, and they did not disappoint. You know when he said the money, we have plenty of money in this country,
Yes.
It's just in the wrong hands? I thought of the same thing. They announced a couple of months ago that they wasted $1 billion, I think it was almost $1 billion on the mental health effort, but also in the same week, they had to announce that they spent about $1 billion on an education effort and got no results from that either. So I'm not sure the money is exactly in the wrong hands, but running right now is seen as its own reward.
Right.
Okay, so he probably doesn't want, he's bigger than New York City, right? Like, he's like, I got to take this genius on the road. And what helps? You get an instant name ID.
Yeah.
He's been talking about, even if they're talking badly about you, right? They're talking about you. He's going to be asked his opinion about things. You're a presidential candidate. He will also, in his obituary, always be known as the guy who ran for president in 2020. It doesn't matter if it falters in 2 weeks. He will always at least have that. It's a stepping stone to other things. I just don't know where he's
Place in the administration. That's, I don't know. I don't, Jesse, he blatantly said he's going to take your money. I mean, at least he's honest about being a communist.
Well, that's why he's running nationally, is because he's going to sell access to City Hall here in Manhattan. This is not really a national gig for him. he's the only liberal politician, Greg, that the liberal media doesn't like.
Yeah,
You have to be pretty unlikable for the liberal media not to like you. He's an obnoxious guy.
Coming from you.
Coming from me, that is a huge insult. Wall Street hates him. The NYPD hates him. Even the rich people on the Upper East and West Side hate him because he's let the homeless take over. He doesn't plow the snow when it comes out. So this guy, really, the only reason he's doing this is to have an off-ramp for his career after his term is over. All of his initiatives are stunts, like Meatless Mondays. Are you kidding me right now? He shows up late to work. He hides in the outer boroughs. You never really see him in a ribbon-cutting ceremony, throwing out the first pitch at a baseball game. He doesn't ride the subway because he knows the average Joe hates him and is going to heckle him. The thing with me, when he killed the groundhog on Groundhog Day, that was it. There was no coming back from that.
Because you are an animal lover.
I am now.
Yes, you are. All right, Juan. I mean, is it the one thing he's doing is if he joins, is he going to pull this large group even further to the left and make Biden even more reasonable looking? Do you think that's a part of the strategy? He's not that smart.
I don't think that's the strategy. I must say, though, in response to what all of you have been saying, I think Trump is less popular than de Blasio in New York City. And de Blasio's won twice.
That's true, probably.
Yeah, I think that's obvious. But the thing about
Trump isn't trying to run
the
New York
thing
City.
about de Blasio is that he puts out this video today. He put out a video, working people first. And it's all about income inequality. That's why he says, you know, there's lots of money in America, but it's in the wrong hands. Well, he's got a point. I mean, if you look
Who decides who's the wrong hands?
Income inequality does.
Who decides who's the wrong hands?
When the middle class in the country feels like, you know what, we're not getting heard, nobody's in it for us, the system's fixed, people are frustrated. So he has a point, but the problem is that Elizabeth Warren's already in that lane, isn't she? Elizabeth Warren also has solutions and ideas and proposals. I don't see that coming from Bill de Blasio. I will say this, when it comes to real accomplishments, he can point to universal pre-K. He was talking about that today. The crime rate in this town is down. The cops may not like him, but guess what? The crime rate's down.
Can I respond? I'll tell you, this is what the true irony for a left-wing pinko like de Blasio. The murder rate exploded at the start of the year. Now it's way down. That's due to the cops and CompStat saving the city. So the irony is the people that de Blasio doesn't like is saving his ass.
That's not true that they don't like. He doesn't like them. In fact, he has overseen what's going on with the police and crime in the city. You don't want to give him credit.
They keep him far away from.
But
that.
I was. Yeah.
Far away.
Bloomberg and Giuliani. What kind of controversy? How unpopular were they?
That was the
Bloomberg
the
is
golden
the other,
years compared to.
No, maybe for you, but I don't think for most people. But I will say this: Bloomberg is the other mayor that ran, but he ran as an independent. Now he says he's not running. But again, this is the biggest city in the country. People do know who the mayor of New York is. And the idea is, if you can run this ship, maybe you can run the big ship. But I don't know that that's going to sell.
You know what? I will be brief. You know why this is dangerous for the other Democratic candidates? Because his record in New York City is a checklist for why big government fails those in need. You know, people who are in the middle even will buy that sometimes, that we need more money on education to save children who are at risk, on homelessness, to help the mentally ill, on public housing. And every single box is a failure for this mayor. So it shines a light on how bureaucrats do not take care of those who are the most in need, despite vast amounts of money.
All right, we're going to end there. I'm sure we'll have plenty more to say about him in the coming days.
Yeah, maybe just be days.